started off as a realtor in my early 20s. And then soon after I became an investor. And I purchased a bunch of properties. I really was just doing it as a hobby. And then, I'm so sorry. My screen is acting really weird right now, and I'm trying to get it to stop. Give me 1 second. It would happen to do this right when we start. Okay, so yeah, I started out as a hobby, and then eventually I ended up selling a large portion of my rental properties, and I just decided to be intentional about increasing my income and increasing my net worth. So I bought some more properties, and as I went along, I just kept grabbing up more and more, and then eventually it became more than a hobby, and it became my main hustle. So here we are now doing real estate development, and it's been an interesting experience.
Okay. Just a quick back up. Hey, Shahar, did you go through the introductions of the panelists ever so quickly?
Sure. So Renée, as she just talked about, she is a visionary and entrepreneur who's worked in the real estate industry for nearly 2 decades. She's a founding member of the, is it pronounced UNUM?
UNUM Investment Group.
UNUM Investment Group, bringing nearly 20 years of real estate experience, including sales, property and project management, design, commercial and residential investments. And also she's the author of The Life I've Created, which will be a series of literary creations that tells life as she navigates her existence and grows closer to understanding her purpose. Next, we have Ben, who's also on this board as well for National Black MBA. He's a Procter & Gamble alum, founder and president of Agent Technologies, an information technology IT company celebrating 25 years, and the president of ATMOS 360 Manufacturing, a manufacturing company he acquired in 2019. He's 40 under 40 winner. He is a 40 under 40 winner and the author of the book, The Consumer's Workshop, Future of American Manufacturing. And also we have Victoria Mullins, the development director of Mortar, Cincinnati. He works to help make the small business ownership a reality for Black and other minority entrepreneurs here in Cincinnati and across the Midwest. As Mortar's development director, he works to ensure that philanthropists, foundations, understand the importance of and support Mortar's work, cultivating strong businesses, wealth for families, and thriving entrepreneurial ecosystems.
All right. Well, just wanted to get that introduction out there for you, Renée and Victoria, and talk about how my side hustle became my main hustle. Actually started, I was working as an employee for a defense contractor in Maryland. And I just asked him, hey, can we change the nature of the agreement where I'll be a contractor instead of an employee? And this was back in 1995. And he agreed. And so my company, Agent Technologies, was born. And we had one customer and one project we were working on. And then as we started going on, we started getting involved in some websites and some other things. And then also one thing with, I actually lived in my father's apartment building. So my father had some apartment buildings. I lived in one of his apartment buildings. And he actually, he allowed me to get a special circuit and power put into one apartment unit I was in. So I'm in this little 2-bedroom apartment, and we put an internet connection in so we could host websites. So if you can imagine this 2-bedroom apartment, this bed, then this wall of desks with servers on there, basically hosting websites. Then also I took a role at P&G. So P&G hired me. So I was a newly minted engineer at P&G while I was still building my company. And what I would do is over time, I actually had an office around the corner from my P&G office. So I was at P&G during the day. I'll take a late lunch, go to my office where I had some employees working, then go back to P&G to finish my day. And then when my day was over at P&G, go back to my office and I'd work there maybe to 6 to maybe 11 o'clock at night as we kept on trying to build our clientele. Then also I even joined a group called BNI, Business Network International. And that's a networking group that's strict purpose is about passing business referrals. And literally they help pass, referrals for websites and other things to me, where it helped us grow the company. And eventually around 2000, I was making more from Agent Technologies, my company, than P&G. And so finally in 2001, I took that leap out and did Agent Technologies full time. But for the last number of years, I literally had like an office around the corner from P&G office in Blue Ash.
Okay. Cool.
So,
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay. I'm sorry, Ben.
No, go right ahead.
Okay, next, Victoria. How can Mortar help turn side hustles into main hustles?
There you go. So Mortar really focuses on providing essentially what Ben would have needed to move from that jump from P&G with a little bit more faith. So we try to make sure that entrepreneurs have the training that they need, the resources that they need, the connections that they need to really help their businesses thrive once they're open. So we have our entrepreneurship training program where we really just give you a crash course in everything you need to know to get your business up and running. And then we also offer our brick pop-up shops. So that's a space where you can rent a retail storefront for short term to test your ideas. So a lot of people go into their business either not knowing what to do or not knowing if it can sustain a storefront or if you even need a storefront. And our spaces allow people to test that out without getting stuck to a long-term commercial lease. So we also do a lot of advocacy work. We're trying to help make sure that people of color are getting into spaces over the Rhine. We're really just trying to make connections with the larger businesses around town and make sure folks are getting contracts with them and just trying to make sure that people can really have access to getting their business to grow rather than just staying a side hustle.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. All right, next, this is for everyone. What advice do you have for someone that has an idea for an entrepreneurial venture?
Who do you want to start with from that one?
I was going to say, don't talk all at once. Well, Victoria just spoke. Renee?
Take your stuff off. You gotta get in the shower.
And the question was, what advice would I give someone who's looking to become an entrepreneur? Is that what the question was?
Yes.
I would definitely
has an idea.
Yeah, I would definitely say find whatever it is that you love doing, find your passion, and let that be your business. The money will come, but if you do what you love, it does not feel like work. You'll have that freedom and that flexibility, and you won't feel like you're just, you hate your job or you hate what you're doing. But that's the biggest thing. I tell people that all the time. Figure out what you're good at or what you love to do, and that will take you to where you need to be.
That sounds good. Victoria, Ben?
One thing that I always say is I understand not wanting to work for someone, but even as an entrepreneur, you work for someone. You work for your clients, you work for your customers, whoever it is that you're selling the thing to, giving the service to, trying to get to whatever it is you do, you are essentially working to please someone, to get them to buy your product, to get them to purchase your service. So if you kind of go into it with this attitude of not working for anyone, there will be a large piece of your business that will be missing because you won't have the posture that you need to really serve your clientele.
And I always tell people, get started. Because a lot of people tell me that they have entrepreneurial thoughts. You know, I'm thinking about doing this or thinking about doing that. And I always ask them, okay, great. So when did you get started? And many times they haven't got started yet. So I always tell people, just get started. And the second thing I always tell people is try to find some people that are already doing what you're trying to do. So first, kind of seek them out, touch base with them about what you're trying to do, because those people might actually help you do what you want. They're not going to steal your idea, but they may have a lot of connections or insight to help tighten your idea so it can be more successful. And they may be able to help you actually make that happen. And then the last thing I always tell people about is, you know, many times people will start talking about this, you know, creating a business plan and this and that and have all these things. I've come from a P&G, so we always talk about our OGSM. So that's simply just a one pager where you're kind of putting down what are your objectives, what are your goals, and numerically, what are those you're trying to accomplish? What are your strategies that you're going to go in order to accomplish those goals? And then what are those measures so you know numerically are you being successful at that strategy? So instead of putting this together a 40-page, you know, business plan before they feel they can get started, put together OGSM, talk to some people, and start getting started. Because as you start talking to people, your idea may morph into something that's going to be more profitable, but something that's going to really work and be successful. So simply put, I always say, get started.
Okay, I see we actually have a question in the chat. Do we want to address questions as they come or towards the end?
That's up to you.
Okay, I'll read the question. It says, when is it a good time to make that transition from employer to entrepreneur financially?
I'll start off with that one. Whew. It would be great if you had a year and a half of your expenses in savings, because in those ventures, it may take a year to a year and a half or so for your venture to be profitable. I mean, that would be great and maybe even ideal. Sometimes you may not have that or not, but I also think that more of us need to consider actually acquiring companies, because you may have 100,000 in your retirement account or what have you. And instead of starting something from scratch, you may buy something. For instance, the SBA has a variety of programs that you can lend you up to $5.5 million that you can use to buy a company. So potentially with 10% down for yourself, you may be able to buy a company. So simply put, a $2 million a year company, 10% down, $200,000 for you to buy that company. And also with that, you may be able to lower your down payment, because you may also have a seller's note where you have the seller give you another 10%. So you may only come up with 10% down to buy that $2 million company. But in terms of how much cash, I typically recommend a year and a half worth of savings if possible.
Okay, Renee, Victoria, I see you shaking your head, Victoria.
I don't even want to touch that one. Because I definitely think the year and a half, because it takes a year and a half or so to get profitable, is just solid financial advice, just in general. Because I think, as we've all seen, jobs are not always stable either. So I think if you can hit that number in general, just try to hit that number. But I think sometimes you have an idea that you just jump on, but I it's all just very unique. But I would definitely want people to have some savings put away before they walked away for them jobs, or, be making enough income at their business, I guess, to be able to pick up the same amount of expenses. But I would definitely say it's a case by case basis though, really.
Yeah, I would say my approach was to basically buy enough properties, because I'm an investor, so buy enough properties to replace that income. So it can be shorter time frame than a year and a half. It just depends on how often you want to purchase properties and create that residual income, and then you can basically leave your other job. Because with the investment, I mean, as a landlord, it's not a lot of being a landlord only. It's not a lot of work. It's not like a 9 to 5. You probably get some repairs here and there randomly throughout the year. So, so to me, I just went that route. Me personally, than doing a regular business, because it allowed me a lot more freedom.
Okay. All right. I don't see any other questions. You can move on to the next one. This is for Renee and Ben. What did you wish you knew before you started your entrepreneurial venture?
Okay, I'll go. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, Renee, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I wish I knew about commercial real estate investing. I started off buying a bunch of houses or multi-units, smaller multi-units, but I wish I knew about larger commercial and how to get into it and understanding that whole process. So that's my biggest thing. And currently I am in a process of looking for some large commercial units, but it would have saved me a lot of money and a lot of time had I known that early on.
Yeah. I would say the thing I wish I knew is you don't have to have a fully flushed out business plan in business. Because I thought I had to do all these little small things, small jobs to build a track record. And then I had to have spend all this money on advertising and marketing material so I could, present to customers. And really all I had to do was find a customer with a potential need that I potentially could solve. And we can work everything else out from there. Because that's what we end up doing with our later like projects that we launch. We have an idea, so we start talking to some customers in that sector that may have that kind of problem and see which one are willing to invest along with us and become our first customer. Because since we've done software development, we've gotten to a point where early on, we think we have a great idea and we build this great software, so we feel, and then we say, okay, this customer's gonna love it. And we start showing the customers and we realize that wasn't what they wanted. So we thought it was this, but it may have been that. But when you just go in with a customer with a problem, talk to them about what they have, what their pain points, and just become more of a collaborative approach to solving their problems, and they'll become your first customer. And then you really can build on top from there, instead of building something and then seeing if they want to use it.
Okay, sounds like sound advice. I don't see any questions, so I'll move on to the next. Victoria, this is just for you. What pre-work should someone do before they contact Mortar?
I think as long as you at least have an idea, Mortar is a good place to come to. We see entrepreneurs that pretty much run the gamut, from ideation to folks who have been in business for probably longer than I've been alive. So we see a little bit of everybody, because a lot of times if you're just kind of running a business and you've just been doing it and not, you're still keeping your numbers in a notebook, we might need to, kind of bring you up to speed and help you learn about QuickBooks and all that different stuff. So we work with people, as long as you've got an idea, that's pretty much all an idea that you can articulate in at least a couple of sentences, right? Like, you don't have to have it all fleshed out, but like, it does have to at least make a little bit of sense. So like a little bit of thought, just kind of narrow down one idea. The one thing that we see at Mortar a lot that kind of gets people hemmed up, because our program is so like competitive, is people whose businesses do 67 different things and they don't make any sense together. So even if you want to do 60 things, they need to make sense together. So you can't have like a cupcake company that also sells gym shoes or something like that. Like, no. So just something that is feasible, that you can kind of explain in a sentence or two, is really all it takes. And then people, as they're in our program, they will realize what they need to tweak, or they might change the business name or how they do things, or some people decide like, yo, this is not for me right now. This is a lot of work. This is way more than what I have the time or patience to commit to. And we feel like that's a success. Like if you can figure out before you spend a bunch of money that maybe entrepreneurship is not for you or not for you right now, listen, we don't want nobody out here wasting money just to say they went through our program. So really just, I think that's it. Just have something that you can kind of dig your teeth into and work with, and we can help you from there.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Next is for all the panelists. How have mentors played a part in your success? If so, how did you get your mentors?
Well, I'll start with this one because I'm always a big fan of mentors and sponsors. And matter of fact, even some of my mentees, I give them the book, The Black Manager, which talks about the importance of leveraging your mentors and sponsors to move up in corporate America. So even with my companies, my entrepreneurial ventures, I've always sought out those that have done what I'm trying to do to get their advice. So one of my goals early on was to acquire a manufacturing company. So over time, I worked for Edward Gold to be one of my mentors, and Chris Shady, one of my mentors. And what I ended up doing for my mentors was I ended up taking them to breakfast every 3 to 6 months, just to touch base, find out what they're doing, anything I can help them with to accomplish, and let them know where I'm at and get some advice. So I always find mentors very important. And it's always best to ask and let people know that, hey, I would like you to here's what I like to do. I would like you to mentor me. I've always just found it be very open and honest about it, and it's turned out very well.
So mentors have been huge for me. I am not shy about saying I don't know how to do something or I need some guidance. And in particular for what I do for the organization with fundraising, it's just really important to know what you're doing and have some connections and have a network. So my mentors have been really, really helpful just for providing guidance and kind of keeping me abreast of different things. It's like you have this couple sets of extra eyes who keep you up on the different stuff that's going on around you, because there's just, especially in the realm of small business, there's so much information moving around every day. And, I think I get probably 4 emails from the Business Courier a day. So there's always something going on. But they've been invaluable just to have people to bounce ideas off of, a safe place to kind of like figure out something before you take it to your boss. That's what's been helpful for me too. So I imagine for entrepreneurs, it's a lot of just saving you the time and the harm that can come with doing things without anyone there to ping pong off of. Like I don't think people understand how much, like Renee was saying, how much time and money you can save when you just ask somebody about something before you do it. So I think that's like number one, the most important thing about having a mentor.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have one. I wish I did. I would be a lot further off, a lot better off, but I didn't have any mentors. I had to figure a lot of stuff out myself. So I went through all the trial and error and figuring things out. And but I do now, I surround myself with people who are in the industry that I can now bounce things off of. But I didn't have a mentor early on or at all. So.
Yeah. But also, I assume that all was now, other people now come to us and ask us to mentor them.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Renee, do you have a mentor now?
No, I
Or
do
someone
not.
that you look to?
No, I do not. I mean, there's a lot of people that, mostly men in the industry that that I can talk to about certain things, but it's more of kind of a collective conversation that we have amongst ourselves. It's not a mentor situation.
Okay. Okay. Got it. All right. Next. Oh, wait. I think we had a question in the chat. I'm sorry. Linda asked, for us novice, what are some resources that are out there? Grants, small business loans, or minority business loans? Where do we start, and what did you all use?
Here, Victoria, do you want to go after that one first, or? Here, I see the facial expression, I guess.
I don't.
Oh, then I'll see.
So I think really, okay. So first, grants. My advice on grants is just not pretty. The way that people think about grants is not how they actually work. Grants are almost always specifically for nonprofits unless explicitly stated otherwise. Unless you have a 501c3 designation from the IRS, you need to let the idea of grants go. The only reason I've seen grants is because of COVID. Almost everything else is SBA loans. There may be some SBA grants, but everybody is going after those. We have our graduates raise money on their own behalf for their graduation, and they raise a good amount of money. So my advice is start talking to people. Start telling your friends that you are trying to start a business. Have what did you call it? The OGSM. Do that and be able to, really get people to buy into what it is you're doing. My whole job raising money for Mortar is getting people to buy into what we do. And it's easier for entrepreneurs because at least y'all got a product. I'm just like selling a dream. So, really, if you are able to show that you're excited and that you believe that this will work when you talk to people, you should be able to raise a little bit of startup capital to get you going. It's even better if you have a goal. If you can get started with like $5,000 and you've got a reasonable network, I feel like you can make that happen. It just takes a lot of work. This money's not going to fall out the sky. There is no free money out here. Everything has strings attached to it, grants included. There are reasons that those grants can be called back. If we don't do what we say we're supposed to do, we have to give that money back. So this idea of like people just giving free money away, that's not a thing. There's all kinds of restrictions. There's restrictions on this PPP money, all kinds of stuff that people like. Get your money in a legit way. It's going to be hard. The resources are hard. We don't have access to the resources like other groups of people. That just kind of is what it is. The folks that we see at Mortar are grinding every day. So I know a guy who got out of prison, bought a case of water, sold it, bought another couple cases of water, sold it till he had enough to get a box of shirts printed. And then he started selling those. That's how you make the money. And don't nobody ever want to hear that, but that's how you get to the money. Like you get to the money. There's no easy path. There's no quick path. There's no free path. There's no none of it. It's hard and you got to grind it out. Sorry. I feel like I have the funniest answer to that question ever.
Hey, one of the things about putting this together, it kind of helps. There's so much information that you have that many other people benefit from just hearing.
I appreciate that. Because I just hate for people to get their hopes up, especially about this idea of grants. Like, everybody that I talk to is like, I'm gonna go get a grant from P&G. I'm gonna go get a grant from Kroger. And it's like, listen, y'all, Mortar's barely getting money from P&G, okay? And we know them. Like, so, like, we're they fund us, but not at the level that some people think, you know, an organization is that, because they're funding so many different things already, right? Like, everybody's already in their pocket. And so I just hate to see people like hook their dream onto something that is so unattainable. You know what I mean? Like, my whole job is raising money. That's it. That's it. I don't do anything else for the organization. That's it. Don't like, so I don't think, and I've even told people that if you need to raise money, go find you a friend to raise your money. That's a full-time job. If you're really trying to raise a lot of capital, that's a full-time job. So one person should be like the business person, and somebody got to be out there getting to the money. I'm glad that was helpful.
That was. Ben or Renee,
I'll chime in. I'm sorry.
That's what I was gonna say. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know much about, you know, grants out there for someone trying to create a new business. I mean, for those of us that already have businesses, there have been some level of, let's say, loans and grants from PPE for those of us that, you know, were able to get that. And then also the state of Ohio has been giving out essentially grants for some minority businesses that have been in business for a couple of years. So and that's in an effort of making sure that they continue to stay around and employ people to create a tax base. But when I got started, no loans, no what have you, just money in my savings. And for my acquisition of some of the, for ATMOS last year, some savings, and I cashed in some stock and went to the buying table. So I actually had a number of, I was actually raising a variety of money. And then I had all these people, you know, back out on me. And it was like, okay, well, so be it. I want it. So I used my cash and made the deal happen. So I wish I had better news about, you know, more grants and small business loans. But one thing I did want everyone to go away with is that the SBA, because many of us, our members are MBAs, or you've been in your field for a number of years and have experience. Instead of sometimes creating, you know, something from nothing, your own venture, purchase an existing company that has existing cash flow, because there are SBA programs that help do that. As I mentioned, up to $5.5 million loan for purchase of an existing asset with existing cash flow kind of company. So that's what was it? Earlier this year, I was in the process of trying to close another business that I was trying to acquire. When I started seeing the economy getting soft and expecting a recession, and so I told the banks I didn't want to move forward with this acquisition. And then the bottom fell out the market. But there are SBA loans available to allow you to buy an existing business if the cash flow justifies it, and you just have to come to the table with 5, maybe 10%.
Yeah, I don't know much about that either. I started my business just using my own cash as well. Again, since I didn't have a mentor, I didn't, you know which way to go. So that's the way I went. It could be good or bad depending on what your goal is. Yeah, I just recently started dealing with banks, so I really don't have much to add to that.
That's okay. Linda, who asked this question, said that everything that's been said already was helpful. So we're good there. So thank you still, Renee. Next, for all the panelists, what is the best advice that you were given for your entrepreneurial venture?
I'll start on this one. I felt some of the best advice I got from long ago is that you would never feel that you're ready. Because he always, this was another engineer that went out on his own, created an engineering consulting firm. And he kept wanting to do it, but he kept saying, this one next project, it'll give me more from, more knowledge that I'll have later. And this one other project, and it kept being one other project for another couple of years. And then when he finally did it, he realized he didn't need those other projects. It was within himself. He just didn't feel he was ready until it happened. So my best advice I've gotten from people is that you will never feel that you're ready before you jump out and do this venture. And then the other second thing is that just because you do an entrepreneur venture, it's not final. I have a number of friends that have jumped out, did something entrepreneurial for a couple of years, then jumped back into a major company, skipping a whole lot of levels. So they may have left as maybe a first level or second level manager, did something entrepreneurial for a couple of years, and came back as director or above in a Fortune 500 companies, because now they have this breadth of experience that they've gained in their entrepreneurial venture that they probably would never have gained, at least not that quickly, within corporate America.
I think one of the things that I used to host events, and I feel like one of the most important things someone ever just kind of told me was like, your friends and your family can't sustain you. So if you're in a product or service oriented industry, you will slow down the progress of your business if you're expecting like your family and friends to shop with you every single day, right? Like no matter what a person does, I don't need that thing every single day. Like at least I don't need to purchase it every day, right? Like even if I use it every day, I don't purchase it every day. So you see people get so angry, right? Like you see the memes on Facebook and all the stuff, and people will shop with Beyonce before they shop with, and it's just like, well, yeah, it's because Beyonce is marketing to strangers and you're not. You're busy like yelling at your friends and family about not shopping with you when you could just be like going out and finding customers. So I think that was one of the things that really like shifted my perspective of just like how you get the money in the door. Like you have to go build these new connections.
I was trying to think. The best advice that I was given was basically to pursue my CCIM, which I'm currently working on, which will take me to the next level of my career. But that's pretty much it. Again, I've been pretty much swimming in this thing, trying to figure it all out with not a lot of help. So that was helpful though, because now I know what I need to do to get to where I want to be, the next phase.
By the way, could you share with everyone what your CCIM is?
It is the Certified Commercial Investment Member, which will basically teach me what I need to know about large commercial investing, which is the next direction that I'll be heading to.
Excellent.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. So the next question, this is just for Renee and Ben. When did you know you were ready to turn your side hustle into your main hustle?
For me, it was when I decided that I wanted to increase my monthly income, my residual income. I was like, okay, I need to do more. So I started educating myself, watching YouTube videos, self-help stuff, learn as much as I can so that I can increase my income. And that's when I knew that, this had to be a real business and not just a hobby.
Okay, that sounds real too. Ben?
I was gonna say for me, it was when I made more from Agent Technologies than I did for my P&G paycheck. in that year. It's like, that's when I knew, like, well, this could work. And that's been since 2001, since I left P&G.
Okay, all right. Next, Victoria, this is for you. How can all those listening support Mortar and its alumni?
Well, that's super easy. So of course you can always make a donation in any amount online, as low as $5. We take Cash App as well. $ We Are Mortar, WEAREMORTAR. That's our handle everywhere. But yeah, we are always thankful for donations. There's not an amount that is too small. It is all very, very, very helpful. We are really looking to grow our organization so that we're able to serve more entrepreneurs here in Cincinnati. Our wait list is kind of long for the program, but I do want to encourage people to look into the program and keep an eye on us, because we're hoping to have an online portal soon that has like a self-guided class. So we're working on some things to reach some more people, and any sort of support behind that is always helpful. We are always looking for volunteers, for mentors, for our alumni, just a wealth of different ways that you can plug in. So you can check us out. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is all wearemortar.com. Email or website is wearemortar.com. The handles are wearemortar. And you can find everything that you need to know about us there. And then if you want to plug in with the organization in any other way, my email is vic@wearemortar.com. Oh, and of course, I'm tripping. Shop with our alumni. So we have a ton of really amazing alumni. They can all be found on our website. Black owned, Black Coffee, Esoteric Brewery, Sweets and Meats Barbecue. Junebug Jewelry is on Vine Street right now. Good Apparel. Oh my gosh. The Confetti Room. Only Florist. There's so many. So check out our website, support our alumni, shop small businesses for the holidays.
Can you repeat your email address? I was going to type it and put it in the chat.
Oh yeah, sure. It's Vic, VIC, at wearemortar, ARE, mortar.com.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. That's now in the chat. All right. So next, this is for Renee and Ben. Was there a time you thought you were going to quit? And if so, what got you through it?
I'll go. No, absolutely not. Right now, I am doing a multi-million-dollar development. It's my first, and it is like a masterclass. It is a lot of ups and downs. It is extremely stressful, but it's very rewarding. And I do not think about quitting. I like to see things through, from start to finish. So I've never thought about quitting on anything. I just want to keep pushing forward and see what comes out on the other end and what other opportunities come about.
Well, for me, I had a low point around 2009. We were just in the middle of trying to raise $500,000 for a new application we were launching. And then that's when the economic crash happened. So literally all the money that some commitments we had backed out. And then through 2009, there were some companies I was talking to, and the conversation came up about, okay, well, we may just acquire you and pull you into our company. So went down, talked to the major company. I was going to end up running their satellite office they had up here. And essentially after the owner spoke to all his leadership team and everything else, I was like, great, Ben, I want to bring you on. But instead of buying Agent Technologies, I just want you to divest of it and just come work for us. I was like, ouch. I mean, there was a number of figures he could have offered me that I would have just said, yeah, and made that happen. Because in 2009, I had the 2008 downfall happen. I kept my employees on. And so I kept them paying them for months with not that much coming in. But since they made a commitment to me, I'm committed to them. And by that time, end of 2009 happened. And that, matter of fact, I think that was around 2010 when that conversation happened. Since he didn't want to offer anything, just want me to divest, I was like, nah. And we ended up changing our business model for doing business with larger companies, because early on, our model was weak. I was doing business with smaller companies that I felt comfortable doing business with, but they couldn't pay us, the level that we demanded to be paid at and do that same level each year. So we were doing this, dealing with companies that maybe one time ever would pay us a decent sum versus companies that could pay us $100,000 every year for our services. So, at around 2009, 2010, I thought about, just accept this offer to sell, but when he didn't actually want to give me anything for it, I was like, nah, I can't give this all up for nothing. And we ended up rebuilding, changed what we did, and rebuild and grew much faster into a much larger company.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty interesting. Unless the panelists have anything else they want to add on, all that I have left now are any questions that any of the attendees type in the chat. Right now, I don't have any questions, but feel free to type any questions in the chat and I'll read them out for us all to hear.
As I see, is basically at 6:40 or so, with us sharing any final thoughts.
Wait, Ben, we have one question from Linda. Victoria, this is for you. Exactly what is Mortar?
Absolutely. We did not cover that. I just kind of dove right on in. So Mortar is a Black-led nonprofit. We work to help entrepreneurs get their businesses up and running or growing more successfully. So we offer a 15-week entrepreneurship academy, pretty highly coveted here in the city. But we really work really hard to make sure that Black and minority entrepreneurs have the training, the mentoring, the resources, and just access to a larger network to really make sure that their businesses are able to thrive in any economy. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. That question came from Linda. Thank you, Linda. Any other questions from anybody else? Linda, thank you for all your questions. All these questions have come from Linda. So does anyone else have any questions?
Sure. Well, then let's go to the final thoughts from each of the panelists, and then we'll start talking about the our book giveaway.
Okay. So who wants to start off with the final thoughts? Ben? Ben, why don't you start?
Okay, well, one of the things I definitely wanted to share with the attendees today are two major topics. One, that many of our members have the financial capability to actually buy existing business with cash flow. And that is far easier to do than building a business from 0 to 2 million, instead of just acquiring a business that's doing $2 million a year, potentially for $100,000 out of pocket. And for some of those, I saw the other chat room question about where you can get that information. You can go to the SBA.gov website to find out information about their loan programs. Now, there's also the Minority Business Accelerator that's part of the African American Chamber, one of their key things that we've talked about with them is really about getting more African Americans, professionals to buy these companies, because there's a lot of companies that these baby boomers have that in the next, be it 10 years or so, when these people want to retire, they need to divest of. And so they may not, many of them don't have family members that are going to take over the business. So these are prime opportunities for any African American professional or any professional to buy these. And the SBA makes this possible so they'll help underwrite your loan for up to $5.5 million, and you can buy a pretty sizable company for $5.5 million. And it's all about what I call about the cash flow. So typically these SBA loans are about the 6.5% or so interest rate over payback over 10 years. But if you're able to associate a property in there, typically you can extend that over a 20-year or 25-year time frame. And that typically helps make your cash flow work out a lot better. So I always recommend, a couple things I want to recommend for everyone is investigate these programs, touch base with, business brokers like Sunbelt and the Minority Business Accelerator at the African American Chamber, because they are compiling list of companies that are interested in buyers that are up for sale. And many of these companies are well within our reach just by bringing either us or a group of us, bringing a couple $100,000 to the table to acquire a company doing millions and generating a decent level of profit. I think we may have lost Shahara. So Renee?
I know it looks like.
I don't even remember what the question is, but I did want to back up a little bit. I've been doing, I said I've been doing real estate investing for nearly 20 years, and for the majority of it, it was just me. But I do have partners now. So I wanted to make that clear. I do have partners now, and I wouldn't be able to do this
get in trouble, wouldn't you? They was gonna be like, you over here acting like you don't got no help.
Was Ponte in the background like, hey, texting you like, well, oh, so you all did it all by yourself?
Yeah, he was like, well, you could have said you had some partners. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I'm just so used to just talking. So I don't want to exclude them because I would not be able to do this without them. No way. No way. So they are very, very helpful. And so I just needed to make sure I cleared that up. But yeah, so
I'm sorry. I just said, I'm sorry, Renee, I missed it. I went out. Who was helpful to you?
I was telling them that I actually do have partners now, and I was so used to doing things by myself that I still kind of talk like that, but I have to remember and walk things back and say, I do have partners now, and I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now without them.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay, good.
Victoria, any last closing thoughts?
I think, if it's in your blood, then just do it. I don't believe we are called to things that are not already ours. So if this is something that is just in you and you can't get away from it and it keeps you up at night, like, do it. Just go for it. Give it a shot. Believe it. You gotta bet on yourself when nobody else does, and just really stick with it. Hang in there. It's gonna get hard. It might get a little lonely. You might get a little bit broke, but just hang in there. Because I think what you are able to build when you work for yourself is worth the hustle. So just do it.
That sounds really good advice. Thank you, Victoria. Ben, did you have anything else?
Well, I'll just kind of close out because I wanted to first introduce typically with the National Black MBA Association, a premier organization for African American professionals. We have over 40 local chapters, over 500 corporate sponsors, over 20,000 members around the world. We really focus on 5 pillars: education, career, leadership, entrepreneurship, and lifestyle. And so we do programming all year long in these areas. And just the other month, we just had our national conference. Simply, our national conference is one of the largest, between about 10,000 to 15,000 draw of African American professionals each year, where 400 out of the 500 Fortune 500 companies go to look for diverse talent. So this is the first year we had to do it virtually because of COVID, and we're doing a lot more programming virtually this year, but we'll continue to do programming. Like this program today was in our entrepreneurial sector, about turning your side hustle into your main hustle. And then also what we're going to give away today are a couple books. The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. Now this is I really love this book, and I love it for entrepreneurs or people thinking about getting out there doing something, because Eric really talks about really developing your minimal viable product, your MVP. So what is that minimal thing that you have that your customer needs in order to make it work, and really try to how you innovate continuously to get to be very successful. And so there's a lot of companies that had a lot of great ideas and weak teams. They didn't make it. And there's other companies that had a okay idea, but a strong team that kept on changing and iterate, and they've been wildly successful. So this book, for anyone that's thinking about going to an entrepreneurial journey, is a good book to really kind of tell you about how many others have done it. And so if you want that level of success, how you can go about innovating all along the way to get to your success. And so we'll end up sending out a survey out to the attendees, and those that respond, 2 of them will have books mailed to them from Amazon. So along those lines, I'd like to thank Renee and Victoria and Shahara for being a part of the program today. Thanks.